Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron. Welcome back to my winter 2020 box office predictions, and today we're talking about Dolittle. Yep, we're doing this. It's just going to be another one of those videos where I ask myself, why? Why do I do this? Why do I subject myself to this? Now, I've covered plenty of garbage on this channel before. I've covered Arctic Dogs. I've covered Playing with Fire. I've covered Playmobil. I've covered Cats. I've covered The Grudge. But this movie right here, Dolittle, this is different. Because everything about this movie, and by everything, I mean everything. Everything about this movie baffles me. It baffles me so much that I'm just going to tell you right now, this is likely going to be one of the longest prediction videos I've done in recent memory. So I'm just telling you right now, this is going to be a lengthy one because I have so much to say about Dolittle, especially when we get to the cons. But anywho, like as usual, we're going to go over the pros and cons. Yes, there are pros for Dolittle, although admittedly, some of these pros are a huge stretch. Yeah, we're gonna go over the pros and cons of Dolittle, so let's just do this. Pros. Without a doubt, the biggest pro for this movie is our leading man right here, Mr. Robert Downey Jr. Now, you all know who he is at this point. He's Iron Man. Well, he was Iron Man. But still, that's the role he's most famous for. Right? He was the face of the MCU for over a decade. Like, the first Iron Man movie, that movie changed everything because it introduced the idea of a cinematic universe. Technically, Universal created that concept with their whole monster movies, but the MCU made it popular. It made it, widely known. And, over 11 years, people loved Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man / Tony Stark. People couldn't imagine anybody else portraying the role. He was that good. And his death in Endgame was so tragic, and it led to two very iconic lines from the movie. The first line was, "I love you 3000," which came, from Tony Stark's daughter. And the second one, right before he snapped his fingers when he had the Infinity Gauntlet in his hands, when he said, "I am Iron Man," that's iconic. Right? Definitely one of the best one-liners of the past decade. And one of the most powerful, too. So, yeah, Robert Downey Jr., he's known worldwide for being Mr. Iron Man. But, and also, unlike many of his MCU co-stars, he's actually had some success outside the MCU. Right after the first Iron Man movie, he did Tropic Thunder, which, although his role was a bit controversial, that movie was still successful. And he even got nominated for an Oscar for that role. And shortly after the first Iron Man, after Tropic Thunder, he made the Sherlock Holmes movies, both of which were huge hits. So, yeah. It's proven that he can open a movie outside the MCU. But, but just like his other MCU co-stars, he kind of falls into a trap, which I will go into more when we get to the cons. But still, he's known worldwide. People know his face. So when they see his face, they're thinking, oh, that's Iron Man. That's Tony Stark. So, yeah. He is without a doubt the biggest pro for this movie. No question. Another pro is that there aren't too many family movies out right now. I mean, there's Frozen 2, but that's been out for 2 months. Then there was Spies in Disguise, which did terrible. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And there won't be a family movie in the market until Sonic the Hedgehog. And I'm just waiting so bad for that movie to come out, because I'd rather be talking about that than this. But still, the lack of direct competition will definitely help Dolittle. At least a little bit. And another pro is that the voice cast for all these animals is actually very impressive. Actually, let's look at that real quick. So I mean, you got like Emma Thompson, Remy Malek, John Cena, as polar bear named Yoshi. Now, if I was gonna see this movie, because I'm not ever, I think John Cena as a polar bear named Yoshi. That would have been the only reason why I would have seen the movie. Yeah, John Cena, Kamal Najat. I can never pronounce this dude's name, although I know he's gonna be in the Eternals. Octavia Spencer, Tom Holland. Look at that, an MCU co-star. Look at that. Craig Robinson, Ralph Fiennes, Selena Gomez, Marion Cotillard. This is an impressive voice cast. It really is. So that's another pro. And that's it. That's it. That's all I can think of. So let's get to the cons, because there's a lot. The reviews for Dolittle are atrocious. They're into teens. Which I know family movies, a lot of bad family movies can still be successful because, kids will beg to see the movie so bad that the parents are just like, fine, we'll watch it. But still, at the end of the day, the kid is not the one who's paying for the movie ticket. The parents are. And if the parents think it's garbage, there's a good chance they're not going to want to go see it. Even if the child, cries and just whines to see it so much, the parents are just not going to do it. If they know they're going to suffer. So, yeah, bad reviews. That's first problem. Second con is that the advertising has been weak. Like, extremely weak for a movie with such an insane budget. And you're probably thinking, the budget for this isn't that high. It's probably like $100 million or something. No. Budget here is $175 million. 175 million in January. The dump month. Why on earth would you release a movie with... Why... Who... It just... It's making me go insane. Who the hell would think it would be a good idea to release a movie with a budget like this in January, which is notorious for being a dump month? And the fact this movie has had a severe lack of advertising for a budget that high just shows that Universal has zero faith in the movie. That they knew this was a loss, and so they decided to just dump it out there on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend because, kids are going to be out of school that Monday, so they can make a little bit of money. But still, it makes no sense. Makes zero sense. So that's another con. Third con is we've already had a Dr. Dolittle movie 2 decades ago with Eddie Murphy. And although this movie right here is a bit more like the books, well, the Eddie Murphy movie was a very loose adaptation of those books. But still, when people think of Dolittle, people are going to think, oh, wait a minute. Didn't we have that Eddie Murphy movie? And they made 2 of those. So a lot of people who aren't going to really look into, they're not really going to do research, about Dolittle. So they're just going to think, oh, wait a minute, this isn't the Eddie Murphy movie. So, yeah. That's another con. Fourth con is that I've looked into the production history of this, and it's quite telling. Because apparently the movie went through 3 weeks of reshoots last year, in spring. And apparently the 2 people who were behind those reshoots were Jonathan Lesbian, the dude who made the 2014 Ninja Turtles, so that's a positive sign. And Chris McKay, who did Lego Batman, so that's a bit more positive. But still, the reason why they did this is because the test screenings for this were awful. Absolutely terrible. And I'm looking through it right here. And apparently the reason why is because I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. I know Wikipedia is not a reliable source, but it says right here, director Jonathan Lesbian, can never pronounce his name, helped to oversee film aside Gagan, Stephen Gagan. He was a director of this. Uh, while Chris McKay helped write new material after it became clear from first cuts that the comedy elements of the film were not coming together as well as the producers have hoped. Yeah, that's not good. Now I know reshoots are a normal thing in the industry. Sometimes you gotta change some things, change some dialogue here and there. But this is one of those situations where a reshoot. Well, this movie actually is a reboot too, so that's bad. But this is one of those situations where a reshoot does more harm than good. And apparently, another thing I've heard is that while they were filming this movie, when you have a movie with like CGI animals or like CGI characters, usually you have like something like in their place, like some type of figure or like a little statue or something, while you're filming. Because the reason why they do that is because, like, when you're filming, you need to have eye contact with, the CGI character in order for it to look natural. So what they do is they put a figure there, so the actor has to look at that while they're, performing the scene. And then, after they're done filming that, they add in the CGI character in post. And that way it looks convincing. But this movie didn't want to do that. They just filmed. I can only imagine how hilarious the filming process would have been for this movie. Just Robert Downey Jr. just talking to nothing. He would look like a maniac. But apparently, one of the producers, someone asked, hey, where are these animals gonna be, like, in post? Like, and the producer just like, oh, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go. And I'm like, what? Why would you do that? That makes your job a whole lot harder. And it makes the CGI and everything look completely unconvincing. Feels like Robert Downey Jr. is really looking at nothing. So, that's terrible. Like, I really don't understand why they would think that was a good idea. And another con, I think this is the final con, is that this movie's been delayed and its name has been changed plenty of times. Like, the original title for this movie was The Voyage of Dr. Dolittle, which was the name of the book. Then they decided, you know what, nah, screw the voyage. We're gonna just call it Dolittle. That's it. And this movie was supposed to come out last year, like, it was supposed to come out May 24th, and then it was moved up to, like, April 12th, because at that time, Rise of Skywalker, well, at that time it was still episode 9. It was supposed to come out in May of 2019, but eventually they moved that to December 2019. So yeah, Dolittle was, in April 2019. Then eventually it was pushed back all the way to January 17th, 2020. So yeah, having that many, production issues and reshoots and delays, that's never a good sign, ever. And yeah, it just makes me go, why? Who thought this was a good idea? Like, Robert Downey Jr., like, you're Iron Man, man. You're better than this. I've seen it. I don't know why he thought this was a good idea. And I don't understand why Universal thought this was a good idea, especially releasing it a month after Cats, a movie that was such a disaster in every regard. And they decided to release this immediately after. Like, someone at Universal is going to get fired. And they should. Because no one would think this would be a good idea. And they should be glad they have 1917. Because if they didn't, they'd be in serious trouble. And seriously, whoever thought this was a good idea, releasing a $175 million movie in January, should really be fired. They should. That's just the dumbest thing ever. So yeah. Now, opening weekend. I know it's a 4-day weekend, so it can be a little confusing and things could change. But I am predicting for the 3-day weekend, Dolittle will make around, I see it opening in the low 20s for the 3-day weekend. And then for the 4-day weekend, it'll probably open between be like 25 to 30 million. Which, I mean, for January standards, wouldn't be terrible. But at the same time, we're talking about a movie that has the budget of a summer blockbuster. So it is terrible. So, yeah. That's it for Dolittle. God. I just want to talk about the Sonic movie so bad, but I'm just stuck talking about garbage. And it's pissing me off. And I got more just garbage I gotta talk about later on before we get to Sonic. So I'm getting really annoyed. So yeah, that's Dolittle. Ugh, ads. I hate ads. What else do I gotta do? Next we gotta do The Gentleman, which I heard is decent, and then The Turning, which looks like the most generic horror movie ever. And then the week after that, we got yet another horror movie, Gretel and Hansel. What is with all these horror movies? We've had 4 in January. This is ridiculous. And then a movie like the Rhythm Section, like I don't know what that is exactly, but I'll talk about it. And then February rolls around, got to talk about Birds of Prey, which I'm not particularly excited for. And then February 14th is the big weekend. I have to talk about Downhill, Fantasy Island, The Photograph. I don't know about What About Love. I don't know about that. And then finally, the movie I want to talk about so much, Sonic the Hedgehog. Because that, of all these movies, this is the one I'm definitely going to see. Because I love Sonic. I will support his movie. After that, there's like The Brams, The Boy 2, yet another horror movie. Seriously, Hollywood, this is too many. This is real oversaturation. And then Call of the Wild, and then at the end, another horror movie, except this one actually looks pretty good. The Invisible Man. So that's the next 2 months, because, yeah, February is pretty empty. You know, so I thought it would be best to just talk about that, because the next 2 months are going to be kind of when it comes to movies. And then things really won't get rolling again until we get to like March and April and May. And then summer season starts. So yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. Want to go check out my past prediction videos. I have winter 2020 predictions on the homepage. I have my past holiday 2019 predictions. You can go look at those on the playlist. Recently, I've added box office recaps to the homepage, where you can look at all the movies from from mostly the past year, starting from May to December. You look at all those, and you can just see, how the box office was, for those past months. Because, ugh, man, I know it's January. I know the standards for January are not high, but Jesus. Dolittle. God. But anywho, that's it. That's all. I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to talk about Dolittle anymore, but I know I'm going to have to talk about it again when I do my recap video for January. So, just bye.